My wife left a party with her wealthy coworker who threw $1 at me, but my silent revenge later made them both kneel and beg for mercy in public. I'm Chase, 44 male, and I make custom fire pits and outdoor grills for people with more money than sense. I'm talking hand-forged steel masterpieces that cost what most folks spend on a used car. My company, let's call it Larkin Custom Forges, has been running strong for 18 years. Got 2 kids. Finn just turned 19 and somehow turned out smarter than me, which is both impressive and slightly insulting. Then there's Maya, 14, who's convinced she invented sarcasm and eye-rolling, both good kids despite having a mess of a family situation. My wife, Lexi, works some corporate marketing gig that paid stupid money for what seemed like professional gossip and overpriced lunches. She'd been climbing the ladder for years, always networking, always schmoozing, always reminding me that her job required sophistication. What that really meant was I embarrassed her because I came home with metal shavings in my hair instead of PowerPoint presentations in my briefcase. Here's the thing. Nobody tells you about marriage. It doesn't die in one dramatic explosion. It dies slowly, like a battery draining in the cold. Little disconnects. Separate bedrooms blamed on my snoring. Her working late 3 nights a week. Weekend girls' trips that seemed to multiply. Sex life went from regular to occasional to basically extinct. I'm not stupid. I noticed. But I kept telling myself it was normal. Marriage evolves, right? People get comfortable. She's stressed with work. I'm busy with the forge. All the excuses people feed themselves when they know something's wrong but don't want to face it. Then there was her sister Sasha. Absolute piece of work. She'd been divorced twice by 40 and wore it like a badge of honor. Every family dinner involved her going on about how men were trash and marriage was a patriarchal prison. She'd egg Lexi on constantly, feeding her lines about being too good for this life, deserving better, life being too short to settle. Lexi ate it up, started echoing the same garbage, making comments about how she'd outgrown our relationship, how she needed more, how I didn't understand her ambitions. But things started really shifting about 3 months ago. Lexi started dressing differently for work. Not just nice, hunting nice. Heels that could double as weapons, expensive perfume. She'd check her phone constantly, smiling at messages, then locking the screen fast when I walked by. Pretty obvious stuff, right? But here's my flaw. I trusted her. Figured after 22 years of marriage, we'd earned some benefit of the doubt. Man, was I wrong. The passive-aggressive comments started ramping up. Must be nice working with your hands all day, no stress. Some people have real careers, and my personal favorite, delivered at a family dinner in front of everyone, Chase's business is cute, like a hobby that pays bills. Sasha laughed. Lexi smirked. I sat there chewing pot roast and planning my exit strategy from family gatherings. Then she started talking about Blake. Casual mentions at first. Blake suggested this and that. Blake thinks we should pivot our approach. Blake's so innovative. Always Blake. The guy's name started haunting my house like some annoying ghost. 2 weeks before everything blew up, Lexi came home from a work dinner at midnight. Claimed it was mandatory networking. She had that freshly made-out look, lipstick slightly smudged, eyes too bright. When I asked if she had fun, she got defensive fast. Started accusing me of being insecure and not trusting her. Standard cheater playbook. Make the suspicious person feel crazy for noticing obvious red flags. I should have confronted her then, but I didn't. Maybe I was scared of confirmation. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I just wanted to pretend a little longer that my marriage wasn't actively decomposing. Or maybe I was too stupid. Call it whatever you want. Then a few weeks back, she dropped this. Told me I had to come to her company party. Not asked. Told. Said it was important for her career that I be there. That her boss specifically wanted to meet me. Why now, I asked. Because she hadn't wanted me at a work function in 5 years. Suddenly, I'm mandatory attendance. My gut told me it wasn't good. You're my husband, and it's important to me unless you don't care about supporting my career. I paused for a second, then told her I would come. The party was at the Belmont Grand Hotel downtown. I wore my good suit. Lexi looked good. Black dress, heels, makeup, perfect. We walked in and she immediately switched modes. Louder laugh, touching people's arms, using corporate buzzwords. Then he appeared. Blake Halpert, perfect hair, expensive suit, a Rolex. And this confidence that screamed, I never actually struggled in my life. The way Lexi's face lit up when she saw him told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't some casual coworker. This was the guy she'd been talking about. They had this immediate chemistry that made me feel invisible. Inside jokes, whispered comments, laughing like they were the only 2 people in the room. I stood there like a houseplant while they did their little dance. When Blake finally acknowledged my existence, he shook my hand with this grip that was just slightly too firm. Oh, you're the husband, he said. They started talking about their big project, late nights at the office, weekend strategy sessions, all the code words for spending time together. He kept touching her arm. She let him. My jaw started hurting from clenching. Then this happened. Blake reached into his wallet, pulled out a dollar bill, and flicked it across the table at me. It landed right in front of my drink. "Don't worry, champ. I'll take excellent care of her tonight." The table exploded with laughter. Lexi's coworkers thought it was hilarious. Some guy in a suit that probably cost $4,000 practically fell out of his chair. And Lexi, she laughed, joined right in with everyone else, made eye contact with me while she laughed at her husband being disrespected by her boyfriend. That's when I realized this whole thing was theater. She'd set this up, brought me here to humiliate me publicly, probably hoping I'd cause a scene and she could play victim. I picked up that dollar bill, folded it, and tucked it in my pocket. Looked Blake dead in his smug face. "You can keep her, not just for tonight." The laughter died, like someone hit a mute button. Lexi's face went blank. I stood up, wore my jacket, and walked out before I did something that would require bail money. Heard Lexi call my name, but it sounded like background noise. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes before I drove. Lexi didn't come home that night, and I was about to make sure she never came home again. I spent the night in my workshop welding nothing in particular, just heating metal and pretending the sparks were my marriage, burning down in miniature. Kept checking my phone. Called her twice around 1 a.m., straight to voicemail both times. The third time I left a message, 4 words, "Where are you?" Around 5 a.m., I gave up pretending to work, and just sat there drinking coffee. Watched the sky change colors, while my brain played a highlight reel of every red flag I'd ignored for the past months. Then my phone buzzed, bank notification. Lexi had used our joint credit card at the Belmont Grand Hotel, room charge $425. I took a screenshot. She rolled into the driveway around 6:30 a.m. Heard her BMW before I saw it. She crept into the house like a teenager sneaking in after curfew, probably hoping I was still asleep, that she'd somehow gotten away with it. I waited in the kitchen, let her start humming some song. "Fun night?" I asked. She jumped, spilled coffee on the counter. "Gosh, Chase, you scared me. Where were you?" Her face did this thing where she cycled through emotions trying to land on the right one. Settled on defensive. The party went late. A bunch of us went out after. I crashed on someone's couch instead of driving home. I'm a responsible adult. Whose couch? Does it matter? Yeah, actually it matters a lot. She rolled her eyes. Full theatrical production. Blake offered his couch since he lives close to the hotel. It was late and I was tired. Nothing happened, right? I pulled out my phone, showed her the hotel charge. "That's a funny-looking couch. $425 for a couch nap seems steep." Her face went pale. "That's not... The hotel has a lounge. We were networking in the lounge. The charge must be from drinks. $425 worth of drinks in a lounge that definitely charges those drinks to the bar." She went quiet, calculating, trying to figure out which lie would stick. That's when I saw it, just visible above her collar. A hickey, bright purple against her pale skin. "You've got something on your neck." Her hand flew up to cover it. Face cycling through surprise, panic, then landing on defiance. I must have burned myself with a curling iron yesterday. After all this, that's what she went with. The curling iron. She turned away, started making toast like nothing had happened, started talking about dry cleaning and whether we should get Mexican or Italian for dinner next week. Just chatting away like our marriage wasn't actively bleeding out on the kitchen floor. That's when I made my decision. The locks were changing today. Before she could walk back through that door with another man's jacket and another garbage excuse, I was done being the decorative husband. Done pretending any of this was salvageable. But I wasn't just changing locks. I was about to discover exactly how deep this betrayal went. Sunday morning, I was up at 6 a.m., drinking coffee strong enough to fuel rockets. Headed straight to the hardware store. Bought 4 deadbolts. Grade 1 security rating. Also got new handles because if I was doing this, I was doing it right. My son Finn wandered out around 9 a.m., looking like death. "Dad, why are you changing all the locks?" "Security upgrade, making sure only people who actually live here can get in." He watched me work for a minute. "Does Mom know about this security upgrade?" "She's about to find out." "Oh, want help?" We worked together on the last 2 doors. Didn't need to explain myself. He'd seen Lexi come home at dawn. Kids aren't stupid. When we finished, I handed him a set of keys with strict instructions not to give them to his mother under any circumstances. He nodded once. "Got it, Dad." Lexi left around 10 a.m. for hot yoga or wherever she actually went. Probably Blake's place for round 2. She tried making small talk about dinner plans. I responded with the enthusiasm of a parking meter. 6:30 p.m. She pulled into the driveway. I was sitting in the living room with a book I wasn't actually reading. Finn was upstairs with his door cracked, definitely listening, possibly recording for future entertainment. I heard her footsteps on the porch, heard her keys jingle. Silence. Then another attempt. Harder this time, frustrated. More silence. Then the sound of her trying different keys, cycling through her entire keyring, like maybe she'd forgotten which key opened her own front door. "Chase!" she yelled through the door. I let her yell my name 4 more times before I casually walked over and opened it. She was standing there in yoga pants and an overpriced athletic top holding her keys. "The key isn't working." "Yeah, neither is our marriage." Her jaw dropped. "What, Chase? That's not... We need to talk about this. Let me in so we can have an adult conversation." Adult conversation? That's rich, coming from someone who spent Friday night in a hotel room and came home wearing another man's hickey. That's not what happened. You're twisting everything because you're insecure. Go talk to Blake, the guy whose couch you supposedly slept on. I'm sure he'd love to have a conversation. She tried the door handle, actually tried to push past me. I didn't move, just stood there being an immovable object. "Chase, this is my house too. You can't just lock me out." "I just did. Maybe crash on Blake's couch tonight. I hear you're familiar with his furniture." That's when Mrs. Cade from next door suddenly discovered an urgent need to check her mailbox. The neighbors materialized in their yard, pretending to examine their dead lawn. They weren't even subtle. Lexi noticed the audience and lowered her voice. "You're being unreasonable. This conversation ended when you turned our marriage into a group project without my consent." Her face went through several colors. She grabbed her phone and stormed back to her car, pulling out fast enough to leave rubber. I waved to the neighbors and went inside. Finn appeared from upstairs. "Dad, that was cold. Your mother deserves this." He didn't argue. My phone buzzed. Text from Maya, who was at a friend's house. "Finn sent me video. Mom looked like she wanted to murder you. LOL. Yeah, LOL. But what came Monday morning made the lockout look like child's play." Monday morning brought unwanted gifts. Thick manila envelope from a law firm. My hands shook slightly opening it. 3 pages of legal jargon boiling down to, Lexi wanted money. Wanted it now. Wanted a lot of it. Spousal support, half of everything. And the part that really made my blood boil, she wanted half my business. Half of Larkin Custom Forges, the company I built from nothing in a garage with borrowed tools and determination. The business she'd spent years calling too blue collar. Not sophisticated enough, just metal work whenever her fancy friends asked what her husband did. That business. The nerve was impressive in a twisted way. Same woman who'd rolled her eyes every time I came home covered in soot. Who'd complained about the smell of hot metal on my clothes. Who'd made it clear my work embarrassed her at parties. Now she wanted to own half of it. Amazing how money changes perspective. I called Tom. He'd been my attorney for years, handled contracts and LLC paperwork. "Chase, how's business?" "Business is fine. Marriage is dead. I need your help killing it officially." Pause. "Finally." "My wife saw Lexi at that place downtown 2 weeks ago with some guy who definitely wasn't you. We figured it was only a matter of time." Everyone knew but me, apparently. That stung more than I wanted to admit. Being the last to know your wife's cheating is a special kind of humiliation. Just got a letter from her lawyer. She wants spousal support and half my business. Tom laughed. "Get to my office tomorrow morning, 9 sharp. Bring financial documents. And Chase, stop talking to her. Everything goes through me now." Next morning, I showed up at Tom's downtown office with a box full of documents representing my entire financial life. Bank statements, business records, tax returns, mortgage papers, that letter from Lexi's lawyer. Tom was waiting with coffee and a woman I'd never met. Asian, mid-30s, sharp suit, glasses that screamed, "I'm smarter than you," and we both know it. "Chase, meet Una. Forensic accountant, best in the business. She's going to dig through your finances and find where money goes when people think nobody's looking." Una shook my hand with surprising strength. "Let's find where your wife's been hiding her betrayal in spreadsheet form." We sat around Tom's conference table and I started unpacking my financial life. Una's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. She immediately started organizing everything into piles. "Let's start with the basics. Community property state, married 22 years, 2 kids. What assets are we looking at?" I ran through the numbers. House worth about $420,000. Business bringing in roughly $280,000 annually in profit. Retirement accounts, savings, the usual accumulation of 2 decades not being completely irresponsible. "And she's claiming what grounds?" Una asked. "Irreconcilable differences. Code for I got caught cheating and need to make it sound mutual." Tom leaned back. "Here's what we're doing. Una's going to audit your accounts, credit cards, any financial activity over the past year. We need to know if she's been hiding money, spending inappropriately, anything we can use." "How long?" 3 days. "I'm very motivated by spite and cheating spouses offend my sense of order." She smiled. The smile of someone who enjoyed ruining people's financial lives for a living. Tom mentioned hotel charges. Una asked. "I know she's been staying there. Got the credit card charge from Friday. $425 at the Belmont Grand. Yuna's fingers flew across her laptop. What card? Joint Amex. The one linked to my business account for legitimate expenses. Her eyes narrowed. Your business account? She's been using business funds for personal expenses. This is going to be good. I gave her login credentials and watched her disappear into spreadsheet heaven. After 30 minutes of clicking and muttering about expense categories, she looked up with the expression of someone who'd found buried treasure. Chase, when was the last time you actually reviewed your business credit card statements? I look at totals monthly, make sure nothing's wildly off. Why? Because your wife has been very busy with your money. She turned her laptop around. In the past 6 months, she's charged over $38,000 to your business account. Hotels, restaurants, spa days, shopping. There's a charge here for $550 at some lingerie boutique. That a legitimate business expense for making fire pits? My stomach dropped. $38,000. The Belmont Grand appears 12 times in 4 months. Always Friday or Saturday nights. Charges ranging from $380 to $625. That's not business travel. That's an affair headquarters. She scrolled more. Each charge a punch to the gut. Fancy steakhouses, wine shops, a spa resort in Gatlinburg. Room service charges that would feed a family for a week. My money funding her affair, every romantic dinner, every hotel room. I'd been bankrolling my own humiliation without even knowing it. Can we use this? Oh, we're absolutely using this misuse of business funds. Pattern of deception. This destroys her claim for spousal support. You can't claim you need money while spending $38,000 on hotel rooms and steak dinners. Yuna kept typing. Look at this. Regular transfers from your joint account to another account. $1,800 here, $1,400 there. $2,800 last month. Always the same place. She pulled up details. Account holder listed as BH Ventures LLC. BH, I repeated. Blake Halpert. She's been funding her boyfriend with our money. Pause. What? BH Ventures registered 6 months ago. Principal owner Blake Halpert. Business purpose listed as marketing consulting. This is clearly a pass-through for personal income. We sat there processing. Lexi hadn't just cheated. She'd been looting our finances to fund her affair. She hadn't just disrespected me. She'd robbed me, stolen from the business I'd built with my own hands to fund her affair with some pretty boy who probably couldn't change his own oil. But wait till you hear this bomb. This absolute mindfuck. Tom looked at me. Chase, I need to ask. This is Blake Halpert. Where does he work? Some tech company, outdoor products. Tom's grin got wider. What's your business called again? Larkin Custom Forges, but I also own a subsidiary, Ironworks Outdoor Design. Bought them out 5 years ago. Different market than my custom work. What's the structure? Ironworks operates independently but under my ownership. Why? He started laughing. Full throw your head back laughing. Yuna, pull up the corporate registration for Ironworks Outdoor Design. She typed, clicked, her jaw dropped. Parent company Larkin Custom Forges owner Chase Larkin employee roster, I said, voice coming out strangled. Yuna navigated to my business accounting software. There it was in black and white. Blake Halpert, Marketing Director, Ironworks Outdoor Design, salary $88,000 annually, reports to me. The guy who threw a dollar bill at his boss. The guy sleeping with my wife using my money. That guy cashed a paycheck with my signature every 2 weeks. My laughter could have registered on seismic scales. This was beautiful. This was so spectacularly perfectly beautiful. The universe had handed me a gift wrapped in irony and tied with karma. Tom was already pulling files. We're not just winning this divorce. We're making legal history. And I was about to make Blake's life a living nightmare. The hearing day arrived like a root canal appointment. I wore my suit specifically purchased for legal proceedings because apparently I needed wardrobe categories for when your wife tries robbing you in front of a judge. Tom met me at the courthouse steps looking sharp. Remember, stay calm, answer directly, don't volunteer information. And for God's sake, don't let them bait you into losing your temper. I'm calm, and I was. The courtroom was smaller than expected, more like a conference room with wood paneling and delusions of grandeur. Judge Lucy Brennan presided, mid-60s, steel gray hair, sharp expression. Lexi sat on the other side with her lawyer, Peter Carver. She wore a conservative navy dress, screaming, responsible wife who was wronged, makeup done to look tired but brave. She wouldn't look at me. Carver started strong. Painted Lexi as the devoted wife who'd sacrificed career ambitions to support my business, who'd endured years of emotional neglect while I focused on work, claimed I was vindictive and controlling, that I'd publicly humiliated her by changing locks. Mr. Larkin refuses to communicate. He shut my client out of her own home, denied access to marital funds. Judge Brennan looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Larkin, would you like to respond? Your Honor, I'd like to address the public humiliation claim. My wife humiliated herself when she spent the night in a hotel with another man and came home wearing his hickey. I didn't humiliate her publicly. She managed that herself. I just refused to pretend everything was fine. Someone in the gallery snorted. Finn had insisted on coming. As for the locks, I changed them after discovering my wife had spent our money on hotel rooms for her affair. That's not vindictive. That's self-preservation, Your Honor. That's a complete mischaracterization, Carver started. But Tom stood up with his folder of doom. If it pleases the court, we have documentation that directly contradicts Mr. Carver's narrative. Judge Brennan nodded. Tom walked forward with printed statements, receipts, hotel invoices, transfer records, laid them out like evidence at a crime scene. The judge started reading and I watched her expression shift from neutral to skeptical to real annoyed. Mrs. Larkin, can you explain why you charged $38,000 to your husband's business account over 6 months, including multiple hotel stays, expensive dinners, and transfers to an LLC owned by Mr. Blake Halpert? Lexi opened her mouth, looked at her lawyer, and panicked. Your Honor, those were legitimate business expenses, Carver tried. The Belmont Grand Hotel 12 times in 4 months? The judge's eyebrow climbed. That's an interesting business model, counselor. Silence. Then, Judge Brennan asked the question that made everything worth it. Mrs. Larkin, were you aware that Mr. Blake Halpert was employed by a company owned by your husband? More silence. Lexi stared at anywhere except the judge or me. I'll take that as a yes. Or at least you should have known, given you were having an affair with him and using marital funds to support that affair. What followed was the most beautiful 20 minutes of my life. Judge Brennan awarded me the house, full ownership, no buyout required. She awarded me the business, both divisions, free and clear. She awarded me primary custody, with Lexi getting standard visitation. She ordered Lexi to repay the $65,000 plus legal fees plus court costs. As for assets Mrs. Larkin will retain, she'll keep her personal belongings, her yoga equipment, and a 2009 Honda Civic that Mr. Larkin indicates was scheduled for donation. Finn's laughter echoed through the courtroom. Lexi looked like she'd been hit with a legal textbook, face pale, tears running, makeup ruined. She looked like a raccoon having a meltdown. We walked out. Tom clapped me on the back talking about settlement paperwork. Finn gave me a fist bump. Dad, that was better than any movie. Yeah, I can tell you enjoyed the show a little too much. My phone buzzed. Text from Maya. Finn sent me updates. This is the greatest day of my life. Yeah, it really was. But I still had one more piece of business to handle. Tuesday morning I arrived at Ironworks Outdoor Design at 7 a.m. My assistant Monica had been with me 11 years and had developed a sixth sense for when I needed something done quietly. Morning, boss. You've got that look. What look? The look that says someone's about to have a bad day. Need you to schedule a mandatory meeting. All division heads. 10 sharp. Conference room. Monica's eyes narrowed. All division heads means Blake Halpert. Especially Blake Halpert. She didn't ask questions, just nodded and started typing. Consider it done. Anything else? Pull Blake's personnel file on my desk in 20 minutes. Getting messy. We passed messy last week. Now we're in scorched earth territory. By 9:30, I had Blake's complete employment history spread across my desk. Hired 3 years ago after I acquired Ironworks. Decent performance reviews. There were notes about him being overly friendly with female staff. Nothing actionable, just observations. Reading between the lines, the guy was a creep who'd learned to operate just inside the acceptable zone. Probably been doing this dance his whole career. Charm the boss's wife, flirt with the assistants, always staying just barely professional enough to avoid HR complaints. Not anymore. I also had the dollar bill. Kept it in my wallet since the party. I smoothed it out on my desk like valuable evidence because it was. The thing about humiliation is you never forget the specifics. The exact words, the exact sound of your wife laughing while her boyfriend disrespects you. That memory gets burned into your brain like a brand. At 9:45, I walked into the conference room and positioned myself at the head of the table and waited. Division heads filtered in around 9:55. Susan from operations, Michael from finance, Lucy from HR. They all looked concerned, like they should be for a surprise mandatory meeting. Nobody schedules emergency meetings with division heads for good news. They knew something was coming. Blake walked in at exactly 10 a.m. Expensive suit, perfect hair, leather portfolio that probably cost stupid money. He looked confident, comfortable. Then he saw me sitting at the head of the table and his face drained faster than cheap coffee. All that artificial color just vanished. His eyes went wide, his mouth opened. I watched his brain try calculating what was happening. Watched him realize that the guy he disrespected was sitting in the boss's chair, that the metal worker he'd thrown money at actually owned the place. Beautiful moment, really. Morning, everyone. Thanks for making time. Please sit. Everyone sat. Blake remained standing too long before finally lowering himself into a chair. His hands were shaking. Morning, Blake. I heard you had an interesting Friday night. How's Lexi doing? The room went dead silent. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. Mr. Larkin, I'm not sure what you're... Oh, I think you know exactly what I'm referring to. I pulled out the dollar bill, unfolded it slowly, slid it across the table toward him. The company party at the Belmont Grand, the one where you were very generous with your financial offerings. It spun on the polished wood before stopping in front of his portfolio. I think this belongs to you. He stared at that dollar bill like it was a live grenade. I don't... Let me help. That's the dollar bill you threw at me, your boss. The owner of this entire operation while making jokes about taking care of my wife. Remember now? Lucy gasped. Susan covered her mouth. Mr. Larkin, I can explain. Please don't. I've heard enough explanations. Lucy, grab Blake's personnel file. Lucy practically ran out. The rest of us sat in uncomfortable silence, while Blake sweated through his expensive suit. I could see the panic on his face, watched him cycle through scenarios trying to find an exit strategy. There wasn't one. You know what's funny, Blake? I actually liked you when we acquired this division. Thought you had potential, good credentials, decent ideas. I had no idea you were the kind of guy who'd disrespect his boss and sleep with his wife. That's poor judgment. I didn't know. She never said. I thought you were just what? Some guy you could throw $1 at? He didn't answer. Lucy returned with the file, handed it over, sat down quickly. Her hand was shaking too. Everyone in this room knew they were witnessing a professional execution. I opened it, flipped through pages. Says here, employees are expected to maintain professional conduct both during and outside work hours. Would you say throwing money at your boss and sleeping with his wife qualifies as professional conduct? It was just a joke. Here's what's happening. You're fired, effective immediately, conduct unbecoming. Clean out your desk within the hour. Escorted by security. Final paycheck will be mailed. Benefits end today. And if you even think about wrongful termination, my lawyers will be delighted to discuss your relationship with my wife in open court with discovery and depositions. His face cycled through colors. Wait, you can't do this. I absolutely can. Lucy, call security. Already texted them. They're outside. Security arrived. 2 guys who looked intimidating but were actually gentle giants. They escorted Blake out while he sputtered protests nobody cared about. The walk of shame through the office was magnificent. Everyone watching, everyone knowing. His reputation destroyed in the time it took to cross a hallway. The meeting ended with everyone looking shell-shocked. I went back to my office, had another coffee, and waited. The voicemail came 3 hours later. Lexi's voice high-pitched and panicked. Blake just showed up screaming that he got fired because of me. What happened? Music to my ears. The real satisfaction, it came 6 months later when karma came in the shape of a dying Civic. Life settled into something resembling actual living, instead of just surviving. Spring hit Tennessee with flowers blooming and temperatures perfect for sitting on my porch, while meat smoked low and slow. Lexi was working at some smaller marketing agency making half what she used to. According to Finn, who still talked to her occasionally, she was finding herself, which is what middle-aged people say when they've demolished their lives. She'd moved into a 1-bedroom apartment advertising luxury living, but really just meaning they had a gym nobody used. Blake had fled to Florida. Business gossip said he was selling boats at some marina. Rumor had it his new boss knew the whole story through mutual connections. I didn't confirm or deny this. Some things are better left to karma. My business was thriving. The loyalty series had become our flagship product with a waiting list stretching into next year. Each piece came with custom engraving. Don't get burned. Word traveled fast in our circles. Turned out being known as the guy who handled his divorce with dignity and fire was excellent for business. I'd hired 3 new fabricators and expanded the workshop. My order backlog went from 2 months to 7 months. Business had literally tripled. Then one Tuesday evening in May, my doorbell rang. Finn was at college. Maya was at a friend's house. Just me and a documentary about volcanoes. I opened the door. Lexi stood there looking like she'd been through a wood chipper. Hair unwashed, eyes red, wearing sweatpants I recognized from 5 years ago. The Civic idling in the driveway, making sounds that suggested its imminent death. Chase, can we talk? I leaned against the doorframe. We can talk out here. The thing about desperation is it announces itself before it even speaks. Lexi was broadcasting it from 3 feet away. She started with the apology tour, how she'd been confused, how Sasha had influenced her, how Blake made her feel wanted, all the greatest hits from the cheater's playbook. I let her rant. She mentioned therapy, working on herself, realizing what she had, what she threw away. Her voice got softer. This was the part where she expected me to feel something. Blake dumped you, didn't he? The way her face collapsed told me everything. That was a yes. She started backpedaling, saying that wasn't the point. That she genuinely wanted to make amends, to explore if we could find our way back to each other. The Civic chose that exact moment to make a sound like a dying refrigerator. Loud grinding noise followed by a concerning clunk. It was almost too perfect, like the universe had a sense of humor about her situation. I glanced at the car, looked back at her, didn't say anything. Just let the silence stretch until it got uncomfortable. She kept talking, mentioned counseling, starting slow. How she was willing to do whatever it takes. The whole performance felt rehearsed. Behind her, the Civic made another noise. This one sounded expensive. I interrupted her mid-sentence. How much does it cost to fix? She blinked, confused by the subject change. I nodded at the car. How much is the repair quote? Her face went red. I'm not here about the car. This is about us, about our marriage. Our marriage ended when you laughed while your boyfriend threw money at me. When you chose to disrespect me in front of half your office. The car made another noise, louder this time, like it was agreeing with me. Honestly, it was funny. She tried pivoting. I've changed. People make mistakes. 22 years should count for something. It did count. Past tense. It counted when I worked 60-hour weeks building a business. When I showed up to every one of your corporate events, even though you were embarrassed by me. When I stayed faithful while you were busy exploring your options. Then the Civic's engine suddenly cut out completely. Just died right there in my driveway. The silence was deafening. Lexi looked at it, looked at me. Her eyes started watering, the kind of tears that show up when reality crashes through delusion. Do you need me to call you a tow truck? She shook her head. Blake used to help with car stuff, then immediately realized what she'd said. Her face went white. I didn't respond, just watched her stand there in my doorway. Broken car behind her, broken life everywhere else. She'd come here expecting something. Maybe the same guy who'd spent 2 decades being her safety net. But that guy didn't live here anymore. She tried one more time, voice cracking. I miss you. I miss us. I made terrible mistakes. But can't you see I'm trying? I looked at her, saw exactly what this was. She wasn't here because she loved me. She was here because her life had fallen apart and she needed someone to fix it. Like always, the car started leaking something. Fluid spreading slowly across my driveway. Dark and oily, probably expensive. I'll email you a mechanic's number. You should probably get the car looked at before it becomes a permanent driveway decoration. She stared at me, waiting for me to be the guy who fixed her problems while she made more of them. I didn't move. She finally understood. The performance was over. She turned and walked back to the Civic. Tried starting it 3 times. On the 4th try, it coughed to life with a sound that probably violated several environmental laws. She reversed out slowly, the car shaking like it might explode. I watched her drive away, the car leaving a small trail of fluid down the street. Poetic, really. Went back inside, locked the door. That new deadbolt sliding home with a satisfying click that never got old. Finn texted 5 minutes later. Mom called crying, said, "You refused to help with her car. Was I really going to let her break down on the highway?" I texted back, "Did she think about that before turning our marriage into a joke?" His response, "Fair point. Want pizza for dinner tomorrow?" That kid got it. The dollar bill was still framed in my office. Below it, on a custom metal plate I'd forged myself, was my new company motto. Respect the man with grease on his hands. He probably signs your paycheck. Business was really good. Life was better. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's building something so successful that the people who disrespected you become footnotes in your story. I looked at my workshop through the window at the life I'd built with my own 2 hands. Yeah, I was doing just fine.